Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all here in this session at TNV Academy. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our eminent speaker, Mrs. Vandana Ajay Kudalkar, today, who is going to talk to us about audit and auditing practices. In this webinar today, Mrs. Vandana Ajay Kudalkar will discuss this topic in detail along with some real life examples she has experienced in the industry. Our distinguished speaker, Mrs. Vandana Ajay Kudalkar, has done her graduation in Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering. She is an IRCA certified lead auditor in ISO 9001, 14001, and 45001 standards. She has an industrial experience of around 26 years in field of health and safety environment management system and has served organizations such as ABB Corp Limited and EMCO. She has been imparting training to a number of organizations, entrepreneurs, and executives on various topics related to ISO standards, their certification and implementation, along with health and safety practices at workplaces. It was just a brief introduction of our guest speaker today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mrs. Vandana Ajay Kudalkar. I may request Mrs. Vandana now to please start the session on audit and auditing practices.
Thank you, Apurva, for giving brief introduction about me. And I thank TNV Academy, Learning Without Limits. The topic of today is Understanding Audits and Principle of Auditing. Once again, welcome to the e-learning session and assessment, Understanding Audits and Principles of Auditing. The agenda of the program today will be the recap of ISO 9001-2015 clauses, understanding the terms audit, audit criteria, audit evidence, audit findings, objective evidence, and audit party. Types of auditing, and lastly, the principles of auditing. My dear friends, before we go about for this session, let us understand a small recap quick on ISO 9001-2015 clause. Before we enter into the PDCA cycle of ISO 9001-2015 clause, let me give you a brief introduction about the QMS. Adoption of QMS is a strategic decision for an organization that can help to improve its overall performance and provide sustainable development initiatives. This international standard of ISO 9001-2015 employs process approach which incorporates plan, do, check, act, that is nothing but PDCA cycle, and risk-based thinking. If you want to know brief about it, like process map, a process approach is nothing but it enables the organization to plan its process and its interaction. Talking about risk-based thinking, risk-based thinking is nothing but it enables the organization to determine the factors that causes its process and QMS to deviate from the planned results, to put in place the preventive controls to minimize the negative effects and make maximum use of opportunities as they arise. You will be very curious to know about the PDCA. PDCA was being invented by Deming. It is also called as Edward Deming cycle. Coming back to QMS PDCA cycle, if you see, the circle is nothing but the quality management system. It has basically 10 clauses. 3 of them are non-auditable clauses, if you can see, as per the standard. The clause number 1 is scope, normative reference, clause number 2, terms and definition, clause number 3. All these 3 clauses which I have mentioned to you are non-auditable clauses as far as external audit is concerned. If you have auditable clauses, you have clause number 4 to clause number 10. If you can see in this PDCA cycle, clause number 4, that is organization and its context. Clause number 5, it is nothing but the leadership at the center of the quality management system. Clause number 6, next comes the planning. Clause number 7 and 8, 7 is nothing but support, 8 is nothing but operations. Then comes performance evaluation, clause number 9, and clause number 10 last is nothing but the improvement. For any organization, if you see, all this like PDCA, it works across the PDCA. QMS nothing but, if you can see, it is nothing but once an organization is there, the inputs are clause number 4, 5, 6. You also have organization at its context as an input to the QMS. Customer requirements float on. You have needs and expectation of the relevant interested parties. This is how the PDCA cycle works. This is short brief about the clauses. Clauses is concerned. Basically, if you see QMS, how it works on basically 7 quality management principles. It is very important to understand these 7 quality principles which works, where the QMS works. Customer focus, leadership, engagement of people, process approach, improvement, evidence-based thinking, evidence-based decision making, and relationship management. These are nothing but the 7 principles with this QMS works. Let us understand now the terms which are being used as per our agenda. Audit. What do you mean by audit? Audit is nothing but a systematic, independent, and documented process for obtaining audit evidence and evaluating it objectively to determine the extent to which the audit criteria are fulfilled. Audit basically is nothing but when you go for an audit, it is you have to follow the follow the system. You have to be an independent auditor when you're auditing. It will be purely a documented process for obtaining the audit evidence. You cannot audit just blindly. You have to go through a well-established documented process. And when you go for the audit, you have to evaluate it objectively as per the standard requirements. Standard requirements is the same thing which I've explained to you, the requirements of ISO 9001, 2015, the clauses requirement. It is nothing but clauses requirement. We have to audit it objectively to determine the extent to which the audit criteria are fulfilled. How efficient is the system which we are auditing meets towards the standard, meets the standard requirements, the standard clauses. Next comes the audit criteria. Audit criteria is nothing but set of policies, procedures, or requirements used as a reference against which compared. Audit criteria is nothing but the set of policies. You have the policies which are been there for ISO. You have the work procedures, work instructions, SOPs, standard operating procedures. All this will work as a reference against which you will be comparing. When you go to audit a particular department, you have to ensure the departmental procedures are existing, the work instructions are being available for the process being mapped, processes being mapped, nothing but the interaction of processes, and the requirements, of course, is the standard requirements. Next comes the audit evidence. What do you mean by audit evidence? You will be wondering. Audit evidence is nothing but, it is nothing but the records, the statements of fact, or other information which are relevant to the audit. Audit evidence can be qualitative or quantitative. When you go for an audit, you will ask something about records. What are the records been available for the department? Maybe the first pass yield, on-time delivery, the approved vendor master when you go to purchase department. So all such are the records which will be digging out during the audit for the audit evidence. Auditor will be collecting all such and collating all such evidences during the process of audit. Audit findings. The result of evaluation of the collected audit evidence against the audit criteria, which I've explained you regarding the audit criteria. The results which we are evaluating and collecting against the audit criteria is nothing but the audit findings. Standard talks about the note which I've abstracted directly from the standard requirements. The standard requirements, the international standard requirements has the note 1 for the 2015 standard. Audit finding indicates conformity or non-conformity. Conformity is nothing but how fast and how effectively it meets the standard requirements, the clausal requirements of 9001, 2015. Non-conformity. Non-conformity can be a minor non-conformity or it can be a major non-conformity. Minor non-conformity is nothing but if it is meeting the standard and deviating some of the requirements as per the planning is nothing but a minor non-conformity. What is major non-conformity? A total system breakdown. If the system itself is not working, you have the scope requirement in ISO 9001, 2015. Scope is nothing but the boundaries. If the audit is crossing beyond the boundaries, beyond the scope, and it is unauditable as far as whatever scope is written or scope is been defined for the audit, definitely it will be a major non-conformity. It is an entire system breakdown. Coming back to note 2, audit findings. Audit findings can lead to the identification of opportunities for improvement, recording good practices. As I earlier mentioned to you something about this 9001 2015 is based upon the risk. It is nothing but a risk-based thinking standard. It itself indicates that definitely it is nothing but a proactive approach with respect to the prevention of the processes, prevention of the improvement to be done. Note 3. If the audit criteria are selected from legal or other requirements, the audit finding is termed as compliance or non-compliance. When we talk about legal requirements for any company is nothing but the Factory Act, the Electricity Act, any other acts applicable to any company when it is being audited. Legal or other statutory requirements is nothing but it is the hardcore for the standard requirements. Any company to register before you go for ISO 9000, the minimum requirements is nothing but you have to meet the legal or at least the statutory requirements. Note 4, adapted from 9001 2005, that is the earlier standard. Next comes objective evidence. Objective evidence is nothing but the data supporting the existence or verify of something. Earlier we had ISO 9001 2008. You must be already aware. 2015 is nothing but the risk-based standard. 9001 2008 is nothing but the process related. And this definition stand goods for all the standard. It may be obtained through observation. Objective evidence can be obtained through observation, through measurement, test or other means. When the auditor goes for auditing, maybe internal or external, it will be nothing, a shop floor round. He will go towards the processes being mapped, doing the process observation, so doing some measurements, testing also, maybe witnessing the testing, what the auditee is doing and performing, quietly observing the results, and then digging out the objective evidence. It may be stated as preferably documented. It can also can be verified. Audit party. Audit party is nothing. In audit party, it comprises of an auditor, of course, a guide in case of external audit, departmental representative, auditee, observers, auditee director, maybe trainee auditor in case of external audit, interpreter in case of external audit, as well as a consultant depending upon case-to-case basis. Auditor is nothing but the person who is auditing is called an auditor in a simple language, layman language, guide. In case of external audit, any certifying body like TNV or TUE NOD or ICS is been auditing. Definitely in case of external audit, definitely during the opening meeting, it is very been clear that you have a guide. Please give us the guide who will be guiding us throughout this audit cycle. So this is nothing but the guide who guides during the external audit. Departmental representative, maybe of the particular department, maybe purchase department, marketing department. Of course, it can be an MR also, but MR definitely is not in the 9001 2015. Company is very well open to use as a quality representative word to be used instead of MR, because 9001 2015 MR doesn't exist. Auditee, the person who is being auditable, who is going to face the audit is called an auditee. Observer is nothing but a silent observer. In case it can be a auditee director, trainee auditor, it can be auditor in case of external audit. Interpreter, when you do any audit, any related to inter maybe Maharashtra, maybe going to Tamil Nadu, maybe you're going to the Jharkhand or Delhi side in the northern side. So definitely interpreter will be there, because the local language the people may be speaking, they will not be more acquainted to the English language. So definitely in that particular audit language, the interpreter can also be as a filler in the audit party as an audit team. Consultant may be for implementing ISO 9001 2015. A company can hire a consultant if it is well and good able to do it themselves itself with the help of quality representative, they will definitely do, or no hire of consultant in such case will be required. Next comes types of audits. When we talk about types of audit, I have picked up the essence right from the standard, that is ISO IEC standard 17021 2011. The scope of this international standard as compared to the relationship, you have internal auditing and as well as external auditing. Internal auditing as well as external auditing, sometimes it is called as first party audit, internal auditing. It will be between your internal auditor and auditee within the organization. External audit, it is a second party audit, also called as supplier auditing. It can also be, of course, customer audit also. Sometimes it is called as second party audit. I'll give you some examples like supplier auditing. If a company has a cluster of suppliers, definitely vendor evaluation, approved vendor master, approved list of suppliers will be there, definitely, who will be coming onto the board, where the company will be going under a vendor relationship and customer relationship. Such suppliers from where we are doing the procurement, bringing the materials, maybe outsource work and all, nothing. Such suppliers, before bringing into board, a company will definitely go through supplier auditing. Basically, in such cases, process audit has been recommended, where the company goes, a team of CFTs, that is called as cross-functional teams, comprising of purchase person, quality person, maybe design person. All these combined small group activity person can go to the vendor and do the audit. That is called as second party audit. Third party auditing. Third party auditing is for legal, regulatory, and similar purpose. And of course, for certification, like external bodies, like TNV does the external auditing. So it is also called as a third party auditing. Types of auditing. First party audit, I again explained you the mechanism by which the company monitors the adherence to the documented quality system. It can be internal, within the internal auditor or an auditing. It carries little weight externally except as confirmation that quality management system is operating correctly. Its benefit to the company, it provides objective data, of course. It highlights the potential for improvement. The audits are carried out by the people who understand both the company and its activity. Second party audit, I explained you something. It can be also a customer audit. I explained you something about vendor audit, but let us also talk about customer audit. In case of customer audit, when the production is already making some product, it is been definitely cleared by the quality department. It goes to the before going to the final inspection, that is the dispatch and pre-dispatch, and the final inspection, that is the final dispatch to the customer. Customer in such cases definitely gives an incoming call, that is the incoming call, that is the source inspection. Customer gives to the company that I'm going to come and audit at your place, and I'll be auditing the product as such with respect to the quality assurance plan. When the customer itself comes, like example, you will work execute orders for Indian Railways, like COFMO project, for example, where you have example of consultant like rights coming up for the product. So they will give an inspection call. Customer will visit the company, will definitely inspect as per the QAP, as per the tender requirements, how the product is working and how the product is totally meeting the requirements as per the contractual specs. This is called as second party audits. Second party audits definitely is, one is vendor, another is the customer, which I've explained you. Coming back to the third party audits, it definitely is performed by the agencies, independent, both customer and supplier recognized as competent to assess the quality management system against the standard requirement. The supplier will achieve the certification to the standard at the end of the certification. External audits, definitely when it will be done by the external body, you have to face stage 1 audit, stage 2 audit. Stage 1 audit is nothing but the documentation audit, as to as how it meets the requirement with respect, your documentation meets the requirement to the standard requirements. Stage 2 audit will be how the implementation is done by the company, the efforts put with respect to the documentation, implementation with respect to the standard requirements and clauses. Next comes to the principle of auditing. When we talk about principle of auditing, some of the skills of auditor is very much required, where definitely the standard also demands. Integrity. Integrity in short form is nothing but the foundation of professionalism. Auditors and the person managing an audit program should perform their work with honesty, diligence, and responsibility. It means you should be very honest, irrespective of any particular relationship between auditor and auditee, totally a professional approach with due diligence, and should be a responsible auditor while auditing. You have to observe and comply with an applicable legal requirements. How legal requirements with respect to the products are being complied, meeting the standard, overall company as such, how it meets the applicable legal requirement and statutory requirements with respect to the standard requirements. Demonstrate the competence while performing the work. You have to definitely observe how the team, the auditee, is being demonstrating their competence while doing the work. Perform the work impartial manner. You have to remain quite fair, unbiased in all the dealings. Be sensitive to any influences. No influences entertained in such criteria. You may be exerted on the judgment while carrying out an audit. Second, you should be a due professional care should be taken. It is nothing but application of diligence and judgment in auditing. Auditors should exercise due care in accordance with the importance of tasks they confides placed in them by the audit client and other interesting parties. Due professional care should be taken definitely, and also do the proper judgment during the audit. Important factor I will share with you: when you carry out the work with due professional care, it is nothing but it is having the reason judgment in all the situations. Definitely, there should be a particular justification with respect to the judgments you are carrying out in every situation. You can also, I can give you a small example. When you are auditing a particular department, you should also apply, auditors should also have the skills of doing the audit trailing. Trailing can be, you will find out some auditing, any observation in a particular audit during the purchase department, but definitely it will have a trailer with respect to quality department. It can have trail audits with respect to the purchase or maybe the packing also. So cross verification of the trailers, a smart auditor should definitely apply and use in his ability to audit. Confidentiality. Confidentiality is also one of the very important principles of auditing. It is nothing but security of information. Auditors should exercise discretion in the use and protection of information acquired in their duties. Particular confidentiality should be maintained, of course, whether it is an internal or external audit. Audit information should not be used inappropriately for personal gain by the auditor or client, or in manner detrimental to the legitimate interest of the auditee. This concept includes the proper handling of sensitive or confidentiality information. Let me give you some example in this. When any external audit agency comes, like TNV certification in a small company, like in any company, so definitely during opening meeting, it is very been cleared during the opening meeting by the certifying body that whatever the audit will be carried out, it will be a proper confidentiality will be maintained, and it should be definitely the information will be float in this, and it will not be taken out of this company, and we are taking an oath regarding this. So this is very important. It cannot be shared with the other, definitely, and the legitimate interest of the auditee. If any such things are need to be shared also by the NABL certification, maybe NABL also may be an example to audit the TNV certifying body as such. So in such cases also, wherever any information of the audit company, NABL certifying body, the third party auditing body asks, maybe the certifying body. So due permission need to be taken by the X company, then only information can be shared. So certifying body itself has no authority to share any confidentiality, the security of information for wherever they are auditing any company. Next comes the independence. Independence is the basis for impartiality of the audit and objectivity of audit conclusions. Auditors should be independent of the activity being audited wherever practicable, and should in all cases act in a manner that is free from bias and conflict of interest. I already shared with you. The audit should be purely and independent. For internal audit, it should be from the operating managers of the function being audited. It should maintain the objectivity throughout the audit process. You have to ensure the audit findings and conclusions are based purely on the audit evidence. Whatever audit evidence we are taking, the samples we are taking up, any case studies or any particular tender we are auditing as a sample case, maybe auditing a sales department with respect to marketing. So definitely with the audit evidence only, we can make the audit findings. For example, for any small organization, it may not be possible for the internal auditor to be fully independent of the activity being audited. Example, a small company where there is a proprietor or maybe 2-3 people working, definitely the proprietor itself will be acting as a quality representative to face such audit, maybe for the external. So every efforts, should be made to remove the bias and encourage the objectivity. There will be no hard and fast rule for such organizations also. Coming back to the next principle of auditing, nothing but the evidence-based approach. Evidence-based approach, it is nothing but the rational method for reaching reliable and reproducible audit conclusions in a systematic audit process. Whatever samples we are auditing, definitely it should have an evidence. You cannot just randomly audit without, for example, I'm just giving you an example. When you're doing your purchase audit, let's say. So purchase audit, as per the standard requirements, you will be definitely asking for any sample of purchase order, how the purchase order, what are the inputs for the purchase order, what are outcomes, what are the controls you are handling for this purchase order to be done, list of approved vendor master. Auditor can ask how the purchase order execute, what the technical specs been grabbed by the purchase order when it has been floated to the suppliers, so the supplier is enabled to manufacture or maybe produce any material or give the delivery of the material with quality, with price, and on time delivery. That is the requirement. So audit evidence should be verifiable. It will be in general be based on the samples of the information available. Just I have shared with you, since an audit is conducted during a finite period and with the finite resources. An appropriate use of sampling should be applied, since this is closely related to confidence that can be placed in the audit conclusion. Just take an example of certifying body when it comes to a company to audit. Definitely the first time certifying body, when it comes for any recertification audit, you will face the stage 1 audit, you will have faced the stage 2 audit. In stage 1 audit, it will be documentation approach, and then stage 2 will be seeing about the implementation part. When you're doing the research audit, definitely all the departments listed down the processes by the auditee will be audited. The certificate will valid for 3 years. When every annual the surveillance audit is being carried out, definitely the samples of the audit, which I've showed you in my last point, will be based upon the sample audit. It will not be a 100% audit. It will be a random sample audit during the surveillance. So this is, I think you will be clear on this. As for me, now the session is over. But I would also like to recap to you something about the skills which are required for auditing. Let me take to you, when you are auditing, when any certifying body, it's just like a case study, which I'm just going to demonstrate to you. When any certifying body comes to you at your premises or in your company, definitely the starting approach will be, it will start with an opening meeting. Opening meeting at the auditee place. In opening meeting, the entire company officials, all the process owners, along with the company top management, maybe CEO, CFO, CEO, or the MD, along with the quality representative, will be present along with the respective HODs. Here, on the other hand, external certifying body, the team will be from them the lead auditor, of course, an expert, of course, an observer as an audit part team. So all this will be a part of audit from the external auditing body. When it will start with an opening meeting where the auditee definitely will be explaining something about the company requirement, how the company has worked towards the continual improvement projects. They can start the good practice I would like to share with you with respect to my experience. Normally, when the opening meeting starts, it will be a good practice, an audit point of view. The company will be giving an opening meeting presentation. When you deliver any opening meeting presentation, I can say to you 90 to 95% our external audit is closed there itself. It is how good, how best efforts you are putting to explain such during the opening meeting will be a real talent. In opening meeting, you can definitely see to it the quality representative gives the overall picture about the organization, the scope, where the boundaries are been there for the audit. The quality policy can be explained during the opening meeting presentation. The overall company objectives, broad level, can be displayed. Definitely, the down cascaded objectives, department wise, with respect to different process owners, can also be explained. Always the quality objectives, department wise, should be in line to the company organization objectives. These organization objectives should definitely be in line with the QMS policy, that is the quality policy which has been published by the top management or maybe signed by the management. So I can tell you the down level grade quality objectives should be in line with your organization objectives. Organization objectives and goals should be purely in line with your quality objectives, quality policy. So when such things, healthy situation occurs in such organization, we can say business will be in line with the QMS. Company will get benefits from QMS only once you run the business in line parallelly and QMS is embedded within the business. That is the real true fruit from QMS a company top management looks forward. During the opening meeting, as a good practice, we can also share about definitely the audit side should make it very clear to the external certifying body that with respect to the safety norms which are going to take place, which need to be adhered during the process flow of this audit. Maybe quality representative can take the lead, or maybe HR admin person can take the lead and explain the fire extinguishers being installed in this company, the smoke detectors installed in this company, and what are the emergency numbers if any emergency occurs. So certifying body should know whom to contact, how to move about the flow, the escape route plan, the emergency preparedness plan, where is the first aid box been kept, so that all these route maps are very clear to the party who is coming to audit us. So after this, definitely the factory round will start. As soon as opening meeting is completed, auditee definitely should also ask the certifying body that with respect to the guide required during the audit process. I already explained you in my previous slides, if you can see, guide is nothing but the person who will be going across the entire process, full day audit. Definitely there can be an interpreter also who will be explaining and converting the local language into the English as and when required. As soon as the audit starts as per the audit plan, once the opening meeting is been freezed, the definitely best practice is you start with the plant round. When you go to the plant round, you visit the shop floor premises, you enter the production floor in case of the established company. If it is a project, definitely, definitely you can visit some of the project ongoing sites, however the case it can be, to witness the foundation, erection or stringing works. If it is a company, definitely where the actual manufacturing of process goes. Definitely, I'll give you some example during the production flow, how the product goes. Product flows definitely will have some process flow. ISO 9000 talks about the process approach, the process interactions. What do you mean by process? Process is nothing but input to the process and output coming out and the controls being applied to the process. When the auditor goes in the shop floor, definitely to develop a product, the company must have defined some input in process flow. For example, you take Q1 to Q6, a gate system, where in process of product goes from one stage to another stage. Each stage quality will be the gate system from Q1 to Q2, Q2 to Q3, and so on till the Q6. That is the final inspection. So definitely the auditor will go with the auditing one by one to all the stages. Definitely, as I earlier explained, we'll see the audit evidence, record the audit findings, which I've told you something in my earlier slide, fill the audit findings. Definitely, if the system is meeting the requirements, definitely compliance, positive observations will be noted. Auditor's role is not only to just see the non-conformity. Its main role is to see how effectively the company is meeting the standard requirements. Of course, in the audit findings, the major thumb goes to the strengths of the audit. Whenever an auditor audits a particular process, it is very important. Its requirement as per his skill, his competency of audit, he has to see the strength of the auditee first, apart from seeing the area of improvements. The positive strengths need to be part of your audit findings. Then you can go about how it meets the standard requirements. In case of minor non-conformities, it can be definitely not a system breakdown. Definitely, maybe example, customer satisfaction index is there. You have the rating. So some things like you have not captured for all the projects. You have captured for one project. So if you are captured for one project, so definitely system is in place, but you have not captured for all the projects. So definitely it is a minor non-conformity. Major non-conformity, if the system itself in the quality manual, it's not been defined, it is not meeting the standard, it is fully a missing element. It is a major non-conformity. So once it has been audited in the production cycle, one by one, it will be audited with the other departments. The auditor will definitely go to the quality representative. His agenda will be to see the quality manual, standard requirements with respect to the risk, opportunity, the risk register, quality risk being involved, internal, external process, what are the requirement needs and expectations of the interested parties. So all this will be digging up by the auditor. So principle of auditing, the case study which I've shared with you, definitely it should be purely evidence-based. It should be a rational method. It is a particular systematic audit process. If you talk about I would like to conclude my presentation. I will just share with you the adaptation of quality management system is nothing but it will help you to improve overall performance and provide sustainable development initiatives. So auditing skill is really remarkable, and principle of auditing standard also is definitely a basically requirement to how competent you will be auditing to the requirement of 9001-2015 standard. When you talk about risk-based thinking, the 9001-2015 is definitely a purely risk-based thinking standard with a process approach. It will enable the organization to determine the factors that causes its process and QMS to put in place the preventive controls and minimize the negative efforts and make maximum use of opportunity as they arise. So thank you from my end. We look forward to experience a transformative journey with you. Any questions?
I guess there are no questions, ma'am, because the participants hasn't shared any on the chat box. If any of the participants has any questions, they can put into the chat box.
Yeah.
Or they can ask ma'am directly.
Absolutely.
One question has popped up in the chat box, ma'am. One of the participants wants to ask.
Yeah.
I'll be asking on their behalf.
Sure.
Is there any special or different standard which talks about the auditing practices, or through someone who is looking to become a lead auditor and wants to know about the auditing practices which has been shared by ISO itself? So is there any special standard for it?
Yeah. 19201 is the standard is there, definitely. And whatever I've explained you regarding the confidentiality, the integrity part, the standard itself talks about, and it is in line with the 9001-2015 O standard.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, and lead auditor is a 5-day course where any participant definitely will be interested can undergo this. And auditing skill also is the part during this lead auditor training program, which has been organized by IRCA, approved IRCA lead auditor course.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
If any of the participants has any more questions, they can put it in the chat box. I'll be asking ma'am on your behalf.
Please be open, definitely, and you can come up with a very small minor question also. I'm very open to it and will be very happy to give you my replies on this.
I guess there are no more questions from the participants. So we can now come to the conclusion of this particular session.
Yeah.
I would first like to thank Mrs. Vandana for giving her valuable time and effort to for making this wonderful webinar such a wonderful one. I hope all the participants has been benefited by the knowledge and wisdom you have shared on the given topic today. The session was very informative, and the way you have put in your effort to elaborate and describe each and every aspect of the topic was absolutely great. We hope to see you again soon with an exciting new topic with us. I also thank all the participants for being an integral part of this particular webinar. From my side, I would extend my heartful greetings to TNV Academy as well for conducting this particular webinar today and making it possible for all the participants so that they can gain some knowledge on this particular topic which was discussed by Mrs. Vandana. I share the best of luck to all of you for on behalf of TNV Academy for all of your future endeavors. And good to see you again. Hope to see you again soon with an exciting topic. Thank you from my side and goodbye.
Thank you, Apurva. Thank you, TNV Academy. Learning without limits. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
I request all the participants to please now leave the meeting.